Hi, I'm Kate DeWald, the CEO of Oncue. Thank you so much for attending. Before we get started, I wanted to thank our special guest, Bryan Bloom of Mover Search Marketing. Bryan is an expert in SEO. He exclusively works with moving company owners, and we are so happy to have him here. With that, I'll hand it over to Matt to kick us off.
Great. Thanks, Kate. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We are going to go a little bit deeper today into a topic that all moving companies are thinking about when it relates to marketing, which is SEO. And you may be wondering, why are we doing this during the busy season? Well, I think as you'll hear from our special guest, this is not something that you can think about and forget it. It's a long game. And so with that, I will turn it over to Bryan to introduce himself, his company, and then we can get started. So.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks for having me. It's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, a topic I love talking about. And yeah, so we've been doing this well over 5 years. We have 37 plus clients in metros all over the US. We have a proven process. And basically, all we do is we bring people searching online anywhere in the moving funnel, which I know we're going to talk about, to our client's website. So then, of course, they get the lead, the opportunity to service that client. And there's a lot of people watching this may know my background before this was I did own a moving company, so I can relate to a lot of people here. I started it from scratch. When I sold it, it was the largest local mover in San Diego. Every single person in the company, top to bottom, is an expert in moving.
Cool. Well, I know one of the things that we're gonna talk about a few different topics today, and then if folks have questions, you can chime in. But one of the things I thought we'd just kick off in terms of just general topics, and I know business owners are really interested in is different lead sources as it relates to marketing. You know, one of the things that we see here at Oncue, based on all the data that we have on all the moves booked on our platform, is we can see lead conversion rates. And so we know there are lead channels like referrals or repeat business that are at the top of the list. That makes sense, right? But the next one after those two sources is web search, which is interesting and speaks to the fact that, you know, being able to be found as a moving company because people are looking for you, and that is a high converting lead source, is super important. And I would imagine that one of the things that's important to being searched and someone wanting to book a move with you is your reviews, the quality of reviews, the number of reviews that you have on your site. So I thought maybe one of the things we could do is talk a little bit about reviews, maybe as just a starting off point.
Yeah, of course. Reviews are extremely important, and we'll drop in some other topics so they all weave together into essentially like, how does Google decide to put your website or your Google business listing first in a search or put you in the map pack? And it always goes back to 4 things, and we'll get right back to reviews: experience, expertise, authority, and trust. That's it. Those aren't my words. That comes from Google's 179-page document. That is the Google Search Quality Guidelines that's used by the 10,000 manual Google employees to rate things. So coming back to reviews are a big component. It makes sense, right? It's trust. It's also authority. So if you think, and in today's world, and most movers will be happy to know this, Yelp is less important. I mean, when I was a mover, Yelp drove me insane, right? And so Google's reviews, what we're taught, all reviews are important, and they're all sources. But I think we're specifically, Matt, talking about your reviews that show up on your Google listing, your Google business profile. So you want more of them. And let me just tell you really briefly, because I know we don't have a ton of time. They're a huge indicator because that listing is connected to your website and vice versa, and they work together. It's like having a training buddy and you both get strong, or rowing. You know, everyone in the boat rows together. So it is important. And then reviews are the #1 way Google can look at your listing and see if you have authority and trust. There's other factors, but if you think about it, right, Google's algorithms, they read every review and they're looking to see if it's authentic. So, and we can talk about how they know that, but I'm going to just say that, if you don't mind, I'll give people a couple of tips on how to do that. And what we tell our clients is get a QR code, which, you know, you can put on your paperwork, give to your movers, a screenshot, and at the multiple times that when the paperwork signed at the end of the move, or when you email them later, get every client, assuming they're happy, which most should be, to review. So that's, first of all, you want high velocity and volume. Then the other couple of things you can do is if they put a photo. So I'm going to tell you why that's important there. We know for a fact So think about it this way. You know that face detection is pretty accurate, right? So think about Google's algorithm. They take a photo and they run it through their AI, which they do, and there's an API you can test it, and they can see things like boxes, happy people, trucks, for sale signs. So if you have take a picture of us with the crew in front of a truck, you just increased your trust of that review by probably 40%. And then if they mention names of the crew members, so these are things that we've watched, and the data shows that from a mover, if you do that, get them to do the review right at the time of service, right? They even can track the IP address, and they can see that it's at different addresses. So these are all things that indicate, is this review trustworthy? So now if it's a review with like 5 stars and it's more trustworthy, that one review is worth 20 on your competitor's site, where Google can tell they're either fake or no one really cared. So reviews are important, but it's important the quality of the review. And it makes a huge difference. It's also why sometimes you'll see people go, I don't understand, this guy's in the map pack, he has 50 reviews and I have 150. Well, we can walk you through and explain why. So reviews are important. Get them, get more, and do what I said, get images in there and have them mention the guys' names.
No, that's really good advice. Now, when you work with clients, do you tell them when they, the process of getting, obviously the timeliness after the move is super important, but do you encourage them to almost like script out, like, here's what I'd love for you to say, or do you give it a bit more of like free form to them? Because obviously you don't want to, be too prescriptive in terms of what you put in the review. You want it to be authentic, but at the same time, you want it to have the value that a review can have in terms of driving traffic to the website.
So my suggestion is, if you've ever talked to someone who's really ecstatic about a service they got, you don't need to guide them what to say. They'll say it was professional, efficient. They'll use those words. And if you look inside, and we do this, we can download all the reviews, even for competitors, and look at the words that get used. And Google will even say, they'll highlight words, right? So there is you can reverse engineer the words Google looks for that says authentic for a move or trustworthy, but I wouldn't worry about that. But what I would do is, I think one of the things is when they mention, we've seen this, mention the crew member's name, Manny, Frank, and they see that over and over. I mean, what does that indicate to you? You don't even need AI. That's probably a real review because they mentioned the crews and the guys, and then the image. The image is probably one of the best things you can do, because every image is geotagged and they can read with AI. It's fascinating stuff. They literally can say if the people are happy, it's at a house. So I would focus more on that and just let the people say whatever they want. I wouldn't even worry. If they're happy, they're going to say the things that they were happy about.
And is there, this is kind of an obvious one, but like, quantity versus quality, do you tell your clients to like shoot for a minimum number, or, is there a minimum number you'd want to have on your website, or is it really more about just having like, the best ones out there? So
I would just say, get a process that it gets asked at the end of every service. We spend less time on that because we're an SEO company, right? But we're going to tell people this, and then we don't operationally manage their reviews. That's kind of where we stop. Just like we can talk about, you mentioned, and I want to hijack this, but it's kind of related. We get asked all the time about Facebook ads, and their movers are told all that, you got to be on social media, but guess what? They're not search engines. Just think about for a sec, the last time you searched for a plumber on Facebook or a dentist. It doesn't really happen. So the reason we do Facebook for our clients, but we've never seen an ROI for like Facebook ads, Instagram, Twitter. It's just, they're not search engines. The volume of search, like as an example, we have a client, and you probably all know, he's in Tampa, and there's certain articles he has that get 60,000 users a year, like one article, like Tampa's best neighborhoods. How do you get 60,000 impressions in Facebook? How much would you have to pay? So I didn't mean to hijack this, but it's kind of related, that go where the money is, go where the people are, fish where the fish are. They're searching online. So anyway, back to the reviews. We don't really manage the process for our clients like you guys manage the whole sales process, right? We don't tell them how to do it. to manage them. We just give them the tips on what the best reviews look like, and then they do their own way of getting them. But I would get QR code. All our clients, we provide them QR codes if they ask, and then you can put them everywhere.
Got it. Okay. No,
Makes it fast.
Makes it fast, easy, right? Obviously, that's the timeliness, just the ease of, the whole experience, I think is super important. We see that definitely on our end as well too.
Yeah.
The other thing, before we get to the content piece, which you talked a little bit about, and I want to talk a little bit about like ChatGPT and content, like how do you get lots of content, and is it quality versus quantity? Maybe we could, you talked a little bit about that search process in terms of like, what does that funnel look like? I know you have, something you might want to share with the audience, but maybe you could talk a little bit about, even before we think about what goes on the website, like what does that typical process look like, and how does that relate to having a good SEO strategy?
Yeah, it's really paramount. Thanks for bringing it up. So essentially, moving is one of those industries, thank God, where the funnel people go through. I mean, we all understand Tampa move. Yeah, we get that, right? But, to use Wade, because he's a great client, so he's in Tampa, Orlando, Gainesville, but we have Portland. It doesn't really matter where we are. People go through a moving funnel, and just think about it. Like if you were a mover and you're at a meeting and someone says, I'm thinking of moving to Apollo Beach, Florida, you'd give them your card. Well, we're a mover if you're moving or when you move. And if you search online, moving to Apollo Beach, Florida right now, I wouldn't be surprised for our clients, number one, right? So think about the funnel. There's, I'm thinking about moving. I've decided to move, but I haven't chosen a mover. And now I'm looking for a mover. What we do, why our process is so valuable and the way we do it is proven, is that we capture people through each piece of the funnel, sometimes more than once. And by the way, the search is highest at the bottom of the funnel when they're thinking of moving to Apollo Beach, cost of living in Orlando. We know for a fact, because we've been doing this a long time, what people search that converts. So we build the websites and optimize them so Google recognizes our client's website as having the best answer. So they're at the top, and there's that other slide I think I shared where it's got like keywords and then authority, but the funnel is how people move through, and they convert at every piece of the funnel. And even if they don't convert because they're moving, the brand is built and they'll come back. So you want to capture people through that whole funnel. And it also leads to one more concept. Sorry, these are all interrelated. Is what answer is Google going to show? They're going to show the best answer to a search, to a query. What's the best answer? The best answer comes from the most trusted, most experienced authority. Well, what is an authority? It's someone who has all the answers, right? So all of this it's simple, but it's not easy. And it's why it takes time. Is our clients over time become the authority of everything moving in their region and in and out, because they do long distance, they do office, they do FF&E, white glove delivery. So, you can kind of see how this works and demystifying now how you do that isn't easy, but that's what you do. And when you do it, you get rewarded. So you take the funnel, right? And you capture people in each of the pieces over time. So that's how you win at the game. And it's not easy. Even for us, it's not easy.
And if, you talk about winning at the game, and obviously you want to have kind of like long-term, you have an objective where you want to go, but like short-term, how would you, if you had a client, like, how do they know they're on the right path? If it takes a while to kind of build out results, like what are some leading indicators that would say like, yep, this is moving in the right direction. You are capturing users at the different points during the funnel. Yeah,
no, it's one of the best I love about this industry. It's measurable. There's just like everything, every client we have, even we're an SEO company. Daily, we get emails. Your SEO is terrible. We can help you if you just sign up with us, right? So, our clients get those emails. So how do they know? How is it working? Well, thank God it's measurable. So it starts with, you start to see. So if what we're doing on their website initially is there's a lot of content, that's just one piece, but that's what you see the most is content. Optimized, done right by our team, right? So the first thing you'll start to see is you start to gain keywords. So a keyword it can be one word, it can be a phrase, Tampa versus Orlando, whatever. So it's a search phrase. You start to see those keywords being attributed to the website through the tools, right? So you can see them, and they start in lower positions. So you slowly over time, you first get keywords, they move up. As they move up, you're building trust and authority. The positions get higher. Now you get traffic because they're clicking. Now that you have the traffic, it converts. And that is exactly why this takes time, because does someone become an authority overnight? Does that ever happen? Do you trust someone immediately? No.
Right.
There are ways to make it happen quicker, but so that's why it takes time, and that's the measurable part. It goes keywords to keyword positions to traffic to leads.
Yep. And I would imagine, obviously, you know, when you think about keywords and keyword position, going from, say, like a page 3 to a page 2, and then page 2 to page 1, that's where you really, pretty, I would guess, between 2 and 1 is where you start to really see an incremental lift.
If you're not on the first page, you probably get less than 1% of clicks.
Yeah.
First 3 positions get something like 67%. And then there's other things you can do. Like I don't know if you've heard or the audience knows what featured snippets are. People also ask.
Maybe explain it a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So for example, if someone would type closest city to Tampa in search right now, you might see the featured snippet for our client. And so that's an example of a featured snippet is position 0. It's considered by Google such a great answer that they put it above the ads and above the first result. So we spend a ton of time. There's thousands of different phrases that we're aware of that we optimize for to get up there. So you can increase the horsepower of moving company SEO if you know what we know and you know how to do it, which is grab all these other search results featured snippets, and people also
ask.
Yes, we get those all the time, and so that's another way to gain traction quicker.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, if I could pivot a little bit to, you know, we're talking about like the technical setup of your website, make sure that's done right. Obviously, another big component, like what we're talking about with reviews, is content in general. And obviously lots of talk right now in terms of ChatGPT and how easy it is to spin up a blog article. I can just type in, write me a 500-word, you know, blog article on local moving in Boston, Massachusetts, or something like that. And boom, I've got this, you know, blog article.
Yep.
But maybe that's not the right approach. Can you talk a little bit about why that may not be the right approach, even though it may be kind of the quickest approach, maybe?
Yeah, so AI, believe it or not, it's been around for a long time. There's other tools, and we use some of them like Jasper. Surfer SEO has a built-in AI tool. There's multiple tools that have been around that do similarly the same thing. They just didn't have the billion-dollar market cap, right? But so we already have been using AI, and I'm going to get to ChatGPT for a minute, because when it first came out, we're all like, great, a new thing. But it's the same thing like with voice search. People, that's going to kill SEO. It didn't, right? It's just like when cameras went digital. Yeah, it kind of killed film, but people take a lot more photos. You got 20,000 on your phone. I'm old enough to remember when you had to buy film. So getting back to your question, ChatGPT can't experience things. It can only regurgitate what's out there. So it is really good for certain things. Like we try and use it to be more efficient to help our clients save money. But if you think you can write content that's going to outrank our team, it doesn't happen. And I'll give you and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
There's face recognition and all that kind of stuff. You can find online, just Google it, like AI recognize, you know, there's tools for recognizing content that's written by AI. It's not that difficult because there's certain patterns in there, but it doesn't mean ChatGPT doesn't have a place. It doesn't mean that. But 2 more topics or 2 more concepts. One is that there's a great example. There's many of the website called The Healthy Journal. We know about it because we read a study about it. They built the whole site. They built 700 or 900 really great articles on being healthy. They went to 7 million keywords, 7 million, massive amount of traffic. They're down to almost 0. So what happened is they went like this, and Google realized that they were primarily using AI, and they slapped it down, which leads to the next thing. And I think we might have talked about that. Google did a huge core update called let me look what it's called again, Helpful Content Update. That was like last August, and it works like this. I'm Google. I don't charge you anything for, how much do you pay when you search? 0. But it costs Google, right? And the biggest cost is indexing the billions of pages. So if people are only really clicking on the first page and there's 25 million results growing every day, think about the cost to Google to index all that. So they came out with an algorithm, they announced it to everyone, and they said, not only will if your content doesn't basically get keywords and traffic, not only is it not going to rank, we're going to penalize you because it cost us. So we see a lot of our competitors, other SEO companies or clients that come to us and they'll have an article because it seems to make sense. How to tip movers, how to move with pets. That's not even the worst, right? So there's all this content on the website and they're in position 195. Let me ask you this, if you're Google, does that look like an authority? Does that look like it's a good experience and expertise? Looks like crap. So guess what? You're going to get knocked down. So if you look at any of our clients' websites, every single page, unless, it's like about us or something, it ranks for keywords and it gets traffic. What looks more trusted and authoritative? So be really careful. And hopefully I didn't not answer the question you asked.
No. This is exactly.
This is where it's going. So ChatGPT has a place, and we can talk more about like kind of how we use it, but it's more helpful to keep you efficient or to find things. But if you think you can just write content that Google's going to go, oh great, you wrote this on ChatGPT, you regurgitated the 55 other articles like the next guy. I mean, just really think about it. Is that really going to work? And so, it has a place, and kind of like I use Alexa, right? I use it every day, but it's not an authority. I wouldn't like get a diagnosis or something. So, it'll be around and it's going to get better, but those large language models are going to be like an adjunct to what
Yeah. We have a question here just around just like, okay, so, if I know that going in, what would there be, what would be helpful in terms of just any sort of like tools? You mentioned Jasper. Are there other tools out there that they could use as kind of like just something that would guide them a little bit, not pen the actual article, but just are there tools that you think that might be, helpful to a moving company owner as it relates to content?
I'm going to tell you, and this is going to sound self-serving. Find a good SEO company that can prove to you through data that their clients succeed. This is such a difficult thing to do. We're literally, you imagine, like we do this every day and we're like a sharpen our knife every day, and not everything we do gets to first position right away. It is, we have a huge team from design. I would just say, if you think you could do this yourself, I mean, you shouldn't be a mover. You should be doing it, right? Like imagine me back operating a moving company. No thanks. Right. And I did that, had a fleet of trucks and stuff. But so I really going to tell you, if you are thinking of doing SEO, don't do it yourself. Now, ChatGPT is great for writing like Facebook posts and things like that, right? Because you're not going to get dinged if it's not the best answer. But for getting users searching, which is the number1 place you're going to find people, they're searching, you don't do it.
Yeah. Sorry. Well, that makes sense. Work with an expert. You wouldn't hire an SEO agency to move your house either, right? So work with an expert.
The problem is you're just not going to get results. So you can get content, but like I said, be really careful of what you put on your site. And if you're trying to rank, this is a new, we're in what I call like institutional. So like 20 years ago, you could do things that today they don't work. There's so many myths out there still, Matt, so many, we hear them all the time. And so you need to go with someone who understands the industry, understands what's going on, and it sticks to, the things that have worked and continue to work. And then they're constantly, this is what we do. We have an R&D department. So we do change, but it's not massively.
Well, that's great. And I guess in the time that we have, as I mentioned at the top of the program, we're right in the middle of busy season. So, but maybe, so obviously time is a premium for everyone, but maybe you could just tell a little bit about, you mentioned a little bit your process, but in the minutes that we have left, what does onboarding look like, from your perspective? Like, how do you bring on, once someone, fits the type of company that you would typically work with, what does onboarding look like in those kind of like first, so few interactions?
Yeah, I've never been asked that. So the way for the way we work in our experience for the onboard process, because once we're through that, the movers just go stick to moving. We'll take care of it. Right. But if you think about it, like someone could be, so you're in New York, right? Let's just pick like Albany or something. Moving is geographical.
Sure. Yep.
So the first thing we do is we work with the client on their geography and their services, right? So we've got a client in Portland. He services the Portland Metro. So we go and we have a system where we get every single place. So a place could be a town, a village, a CDP, and an incorporated area, a neighborhood, city, counties, and we list all those. So we want, if it's a place that someone could live in or search, we get a list of those. So we get that, we give it to the client, they prioritize it in order, right? Because we generally take 2 to 3 years to do our first wave, which is build out the content. It takes us 2 to 3 years. That's the first phase. So to do that, we need to know, they are the ones who know what are the places where they want to move. And then we build in regions, right? Because there's long distance, right? So we look at the lanes that they move, and we've got tools to tell us which are the busiest if they don't know. So we're building out their long distance. Then we go to their services. What services do you provide? Local long distance, senior, FF&E, warehousing, logistics, storage, whatever, packing. And we prioritize all that. So that's the part that allows us to build a strategy. So now we have a strategy over the first 3 years, how we're going to go. And then there's just things like getting access to stuff. Google Analytics, Tag Manager, Search Console. Now, the biggest, most important part, I think, is what you were kind of doing, is we have to extract from that mover operationally and geographically what he's looking for and where he's trying to go, because we're chronologically doing it. And then we weave in what we know to work from the standpoint of Google, because they're giving us that. And then we're going, how are we going to build this client's experience, expertise, authority, and trust out there?
Got it. No, that makes sense. So looking at both, the locations they serve and the services they offer, and kind of building out a strategy from there, that makes sense. Well, if any of this piqued anyone's interest on the webinar today, what's the best way to get a hold of you, Bryan?
Yeah, so I mean, pretty easy to find. The website's Mover Search Marketing. They certainly, if someone's interested, we can't work with everyone. There's a specific fit that works really
makes sense. Yeah.
But if someone is interested, they can email me directly, which would be my first name, Bryan with a Y, at Mover Search Marketing, and we're happy to talk to them. And we love what we do, and we have a proven system, and we still there are plenty of slots available in geographic areas for people to come on board.
Cool. Well, Bryan, we covered a bunch of different topics in a short period of time, kind of did a bit of a tour of SEO, but I thank you very much for participating and joining Oncue this morning to give a little bit of an insight in terms of why SEO is a long game, even during the busy season. So thanks. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. It was so much fun. I really appreciate it.
Take care. Thanks, everyone. Bye.